Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday from Buttonwood Park Zoo here in New Bedford, Massachusetts. We have some... Rico is very interested in what we're up to today. Hey, Rico. He says, who's out there? What you doing? Fun fact, it is snowing here in New Bedford, so we are inside our Rainforest Rivers and Reefs building today for our chat. I am joined by one of our zookeepers, Carrie, and she is going to be introducing us to a pair of reptiles that live here in our Rainforest Rivers and Reefs building. If you come to visit, you'll see them in the Bolivia exhibit, and they are these guys right here. So I'm going to turn it over to Carrie, who's going to tell bit about them, and then of course we'll always take all those great questions you guys have.
Good morning. These are our two yellow-footed tortoises. This bigger one here that you see walking around is Olive. Olive comes to us from the Brookfield Zoo. She is 30 years old, and she's pretty average size for a yellow-footed tortoise. Their average size is about 16 inches in length, about 25 to 35 pounds. Olive here weighs close to 24 pounds. Our other tortoise is Sweet Pea. Let's see if we can get her to make a little appearance over here. She's a little bit smaller than Olive. Sweet Pea comes to us from Brookfield Zoo as well. We're not exactly sure of Sweet Pea's age. However, we know that she's at least 19 years old. She's a little bit smaller. Her carapace length is probably closer to 12 inches in length. And she weighs about 14. So if you notice, yellow-footed tortoises get their name by those yellow-orange on the front of their legs. We'll see if we can turn Sweet Pea around right there. So these guys are a South American species. They're actually the largest tortoise species on the mainland of South America. I did say that their average weight is probably 25 to 35 pounds, but they can get much bigger than that. Some have been known to reach about 100 pounds in weight. I'll go get Olive.
She's on the move. This is good enrichment for the tortoises today.
It is. They don't come out here too much, so they're going to definitely like to explore. So these guys, their habitat is tropical rainforest. And out in the wild, they eat a bunch of green foods. So they're going to eat a bunch of grasses, leaves. They're also going to eat a bunch of, occasionally they'll take some fruit that's fallen to the ground. They'll eat some flowers. And these guys are actually omnivores, so they'll also occasionally eat some insects, maybe some small mammals, and they do eat carrion as well.
And if you've been joining us for these virtual keeper chats, you might remember meeting Dottie, the red-footed tortoise, a different species of South American tortoise with red dots on their legs.
Yep, and so red-footed tortoises and yellow-footed tortoises do actually overlap a little bit, where yellow-footed tortoises really stay in the rainforest, but the red-footed will stay in the rainforest as well as the savannas next to it. So there is a little bit of overlap with these guys, and they are very similar species of turtle.
All right, so like we said, if you have questions about the yellow-footed tortoises, feel free to put those right into the comments. Do you want to talk a little bit about their feet,
Sure.
which are kind of unique?
A lot of people ask, what's the difference between a tortoise and a turtle? So their feet is actually one difference. So tortoises are turtles, but when we use the word tortoise, we're really referring to the type of turtle or tortoise that stays in the land area. So if you look at her feet, you'll notice that the back feet are flat, the front feet are really round, and they're very well adapted for living in a terrestrial environment. You also notice that they do have some claws on those feet, which are used for digging. Compared to a turtle, which is usually a semi-aquatic or an aquatic species, which would have webbed feet, which were more designed to live in the water.
And do they have a tail?
They actually do have a tail. She has hers tucked in pretty tight, but that's one way to tell the difference between males and females. It's kind of a general rule for almost all turtles is that the males have a wider, longer tail. And also if you look at that plastron, which is the underneath of their shell, females usually have a flat plastron where the males have a concave plastron.
Excellent. People are commenting quite a bit, I think they're taken away by how cute they are, which we appreciate.
So if you actually, a lot of people ask how do tortoises defend themselves. So that shell is actually really strong and really heavy, and that's their main defense against predators. So if they do feel threatened, they're not going to pull into that shell. Also, the coloration of the shell really helps them to camouflage the leaf litter that would be on the ground in the rainforest.
I am noticing, is this one olive over here?
Yes,
olive is much bigger. Is there a reason for that?
I mean, there is going to be a variance between, just because the average length or size, the average weight of a tortoise is 25 to 35 pounds. They're not all going to reach that size. However, with Sweet Pea here, she was with a private owner in the beginning of her life. We don't really know the history about it, so we don't know if that affected her growth at all.
That brings up a really good point. A lot of people like to have things like turtles and tortoises for pets. Do you want to talk a little bit about making that decision and what that means?
Sure. If you're going to get a tortoise as a pet, you really need to understand that you're in it for the long haul. These guys can live up to 50 years, so it's really a lifetime commitment there. Also, I mean, I guess some people really enjoy them as pets, but they do take a lot of care as well. They need special UV lighting, special diets, and they need to be indoors in our area in the summertime. A nice outdoor pen in the summer, indoors in the winter.
Yeah, these guys, a lot of times you might buy a tortoise as a baby and not realize how big they can really get. They seem to want to, these guys do get to go outside in the grass on a nice warm day for enrichment, so they may be wondering why they're out in the building and not out in the lawn. They would definitely not do well today out in the snow.
No, it's a little too chilly out there. We don't bring them outside if it's below 55 degrees, which it is today, and there's a little bit of snow out there today, who knew? So not a great day to be outside. Otherwise, I would have them outside.
We get this question a lot. Would a tortoise like this have a favorite keeper? Do they tend to like different people?
I think not. I really think it's, they're treat all of our keepers equally. Maybe whoever brings their favorite food item in would be their favorite of the day, and that's about it.
And what we're seeing right now is about how fast they can move?
Yep, so these guys do walk pretty slow, and their speed is probably about a half a mile an hour.
What would be something, you said that they have to defend themselves sometimes, what would be a predator of a yellow-footed tortoise?
So for the bigger tortoises like Olive here, their main predator would be a jaguar. So a jaguar can use those big jaws of theirs and break through the shell of a tortoise. But they also are hunted by humans for food and for the pet trade, so that's also a concern. Smaller tortoises would be predated on by smaller animals, such as small mammals, lizards, and some birds of prey.
Thank you, Sonia, so much for your donation. We really appreciate your support during this time when we're closed and unable to have visitors on site. It helps us keep our conservation education mission alive. Do these two live together, and in the wild, do they live in groups, or what is their social structure?
Yep, so in our exhibit, they do live together, but they keep their distance. These guys are solitary roamers, but they're fine with other tortoises in their area.
Colin, age 6, would like to know more about how they have babies, how many eggs do they lay, when do they do it, that sort of thing.
So these guys will breed all year round, but they do lay their eggs between June and September. So they do dig out a hole to lay their eggs. These guys, the average clutch size is about 4 to 8 eggs. However, it can be more than that. So then once the female's done laying those eggs, she'll bury them. And in about 100 to 200 days, some new tortoises will emerge from the nest site.
And do they stay with mom, or they head out?
Yeah, so once mom lays those eggs, she's gone. So once they hatch and they dig themselves out, they're completely on their own.
Are these guys similar to other turtles and tortoises where the temperature of the nest impacts the sex of the babies?
Yes. So warmer temperatures usually yields females, lower temperatures males, and then in between is a mixture of both. So yes, most reptile eggs are temperature dependent.
All right, Hannah, age 8, would like to know more about their shell. How strong is it? What happens with it? Can you talk a little bit about the structure of the shell?
Sure. The shell is very hard and thick, and it's really their first line of defense against any kind of predators. You'll see that underneath that shell is bone. It is part of their skeleton, and on top of it, they have these keratin plates, which we call scutes. And you'll see that there's scutes all around. And those scutes do actually shed as the turtle grows.
So they can't just pop out of their shell and get a new shell like a hermit crab.
Nope. Actually, their vertebrae and their ribs are attached to their shell on the inside, so turtles cannot come out of their shell.
And if they were to be touched or hurt on their shell, they can feel that. They have nerves and blood vessels.
So just like us, their carapace is made of keratin, just like our fingernails. So if you touch your fingernail, you can kind of feel it. So tortoises can feel when they are being touched on their shell.
Great. We have a lot of turtle lovers, so that's great. See if we can get a shot of her walking towards us. She is pretty cute. She's on a mission today. Do they need a lot of exercise? Is this good for them in the wild? Do they move around a lot?
So these guys spend most of their day just roaming around foraging for food. So again, they're going to eat lots of green leafy plants, which don't have a lot of caloric value to it. So they need to kind of keep moving on, finding things to eat. So they do get a lot of exercise. Once they fill up, they're going to probably take a short little rest and then be on the move again.
Are they nocturnal or diurnal?
These guys are diurnal. They will take naps during the day, but they are active during the day.
Anna, age 9, heard a noise, and she's wondering if that was them, or do they make any noises?
I didn't hear a noise. It might have been one of the other birds who tends to be super loud. These guys, they don't make a lot of noises that I hear. However, they will, during mating season, they'll make some grunting sounds. If I was to startle her, you'd kind of hear her do a little hissing sound. But that's pretty much the
I heard her squeaking a little bit earlier too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, just a little squeak. So how do they, when it comes to coming to meet a mate, or Kenzie, age 2, is wondering, do they talk to each other, or how do they find each other?
So these guys actually use their sense of smell a lot. So they'll probably use their sense of smell to find other tortoises. And once they do, a male will approach a female, and as long as she likes him, hopefully all will go well, and then come upon each other. They'll do some head bobbing to know that, explain to them that once they're both males, and they'll kind of be on their separate ways.
Great. All right, I think we have answered everyone's questions. If you have any other, how big are the eggs? She possibly have 48 or more eggs inside her body.
48 sounds like a lot. Usually, typically, with Olive here, you probably see 10 eggs inside of her. The eggs are probably about that big. Once the tortoises hatch, they're about the size of a silver dollar. So yeah. So we actually we do X-rays them occasionally just to make sure. If we make sure that they don't have eggs, and if we notice they do have eggs on X-ray, we want to make sure that they lay their eggs. And I think, again, probably about 10 was at the most I've ever seen it with all of them.
And reptiles have kind of leathery eggs. They're not hard like a bird's eggs.
Yep, so they are a little bit different with their texture.
They're flexible.
Yeah, they're a little bit more flexible than a bird egg would be.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us to meet our yellow-footed tortoises with Carrie. Carrie, thank you so much for introducing us to
You're very welcome.
Olive and Sweetie. It was fun to see them make a lap around the building. We appreciate that you have joined us today for our Keeper Chat. We hope to see you again tomorrow for another edition. Until then, have a Saturday. Take care.